a question that affects everyone, and that is time.
Yeah. How often do people say to you, I'd love to write a book, Caryl, but I don't have time? How
Yeah.
often do you hear that?
Yeah. And that's why today I'm going to share the 5 W's, not about finding time, but about creating time.
Yeah.
Because if you really know it's your time to write your book, then you need to carve out time, create time, and use some of the little tips and tools that we're going to share today.
Do you think, Caryl, that people use time as not as an excuse, but they really believe they don't have enough time, but actually they're blocked in some other way? So maybe they're a bit afraid to write a book or be seen in public, or, you know, their difficulties with the language might be uncovered. Do you feel that time is often used as the first blocker, but it's not necessarily the block?
Well, time is a big factor when people might jump in and want to join, say, the course we're running on Write the Book Inside You. And then they think, actually, I've got this, I'm doing too many other things. I can't do it now.
Yeah.
But there will be some people who have planted the first W, which I call their why, that seed that now I'm ready. And I didn't know how to do it.
Yes.
Back to time. So if the 5 W's start with why, there was a seed planted in you, and it would help you when you think I don't have enough time to go back to the moment in time when you knew, or people have said enough times to you, you should write a book, or I know I'd love to write a book, or you envy someone who's written a book. And especially among coaches and EFT experts, there may be a perception, you newly trained or you've been working for a year, that it's those people out there who've written their books.
Yeah,
and
but it's not, that's not true. That's not true, is it?
No, you see, and that, of course, is one of the other blocks that we need to help people get unstuck when they start our course. But right now, it's not about whether you're good enough. It's just that, okay, I've decided I'm good enough. I'm going to do it. I know why I'm doing it. So that's the first why. Then we move on to the second why, and that is who. This will help you when you want to create time. You're not only thinking of who it's for, mainly you are actually, you're doing it for yourself, but there's a part of you, especially us coaches and EFT practitioners and journey therapists, there's a part of us who knows that we have overcome perhaps from our pain, we've learned some lessons, and we want to share this to help others. I mean, in some cases, it's extreme abuse they've overcome and learned how to forgive and live a happy life. In other cases, it's something else. But if you can remember that who you're writing for, then it will make a difference to say, I'm going to do the other things, which I'm going to share today with your W's, to make a space to get this book out into the world. And there's that saying, if not now, when? And when you feel that in you, that calling, then you know it is time.
Yeah. And I think I haven't ever met a healer who hadn't been through their own dark night of the soul, or, you know, life crisis, whatever you like to call it. You know, I think it's a universal thing. And when we share that, you know, people really resonate with that. They love to hear your story.
Yes. And in writing what we call a transformational nonfiction book, that story, that personal story, it can be a memoir and people just read it and get something out of it. But the way I'm teaching coaches and experts is to not only tell your story, but through case studies and a signature system, give someone a package of your story, of why your why, and then how you help others in specific cases, and perhaps a method if you have one, if it's 3 steps or 5 steps. So to me, that is how I've written my books, and that is how I feel the book I can help people write. So that's the who. But there's also another thing that comes with the who that I ask people, and that is who's blocking you? Who's likely, this is, you know, one of those tips we use as coaches, who can you foresee as a goal success coach is going to step in your way and make you want to give up? And that
Yes.
could be your partner, your kids. You know, in fact, I've written an article on Medium about this topic. And one of the things I remember I've mentioned is my husband saying, Caryl, you've gone into a cave because you're writing there all day. Because for a lot of us writers, once we're on a roll, and of course, getting to the roll is the next question, which is the next W, which is where are we going to write? But once we're on a roll, maybe we're going to write more than 15 minutes. We say, okay, I'm just going into the office. I've got an idea, going into my cave to write. And then that's the time. The muse then visits you, as Stephen Pressfield calls the goddess muse. And you're off on a wonderful part of your book. So
Yes.
do you agree with that? You know, we can't
Totally. And I think a lot of people who maybe have parents or family members around, that's a big block for them. It's like, who are you to be writing a book?
Yeah,
or that's what they think people will say. So yeah, they're definitely blockers from family, friends, partners, kids, work colleagues, you know. And also that sense that you touched on earlier, you know, who am I to be writing a book because I've only been trained 6 months, or someone's already done what I like doing.
Yeah, and my main role is wife and mother, because I want to get back to that who's stopping you. So even if you just say to your spouse, look after the children and close the door and put do not disturb. So when mommy's behind that door, if they're old enough to understand, until I come out, you might be doing a Skype interview or a Zoom interview, but the point is you taking the time to write. So where you write, make it a sacred space, as Stephen Pressfield said. And in terms of neuroscience, your brain and your body will know. You sit down, bum glue, as Bryce Courtney, the author, said. You're sitting in a place, and you might just sit there and think, I've got nothing to write. And then you can either get your journal and write, or in my case, the other tip is when, the other W. So you've got your place, the where, and you've shut the door and you've blocked out distractions from yourself and the world. And then you come to when do you write? Now, in order to, again, form a neuroscientific type of habit, it's good. What I've learned, and maybe not, I think other people I know do this, is to get up a few hours early. Then you don't have to worry, hopefully, if your kids are old enough, that you're going to be disturbed. And I started that practice 20, 30 years ago because I found that when I'd taken the kids to school and came back, I'd lost my creative spark. I was okay, but once I started getting up early in the morning, and I still do, I did it this morning, I sit with my water, my coffee, and then I either meditate or I go into a quiet space where words and journaling comes to me. And then later I can go to the computer and you know, put it down more in better form. So
and I think we all know that if we schedule something in, you know, if we schedule a client appointment, we're there, we do it. If we schedule in writing, even if it's 20 minutes, you know, just presumably you're thinking if people just do a little bit each day, well, that's obviously going to be better than doing nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of the participants in the course we ran recently, she said that she went down to the beach and she was walking along, and she was the shells she's in Australia, were crackling under her feet, and she suddenly had a past life recall of how this related to the book she was writing, which is about past life. I don't think she'll mind me saying that. And so you don't know, you may not be actually at your desk. It's one way for discipline, but you can. And so keep a journal with you, or always have something with you, because you could suddenly have a flash, an idea. And so that's a different kind of where does the muse give you the concepts. But she definitely comes to me first thing in the morning. I light a candle, I have my water, my coffee, and my journal. So that's and it's early morning, because people say, and there's a guy, not a guy, an author called Gay Hendricks. He's really worth listening to. The Big Leap. He's doing a podcast at the moment on the concepts of the Big Leap. And one of the things he said, of course, I latched onto it, was that he's written 40 books, and he's written them all between 5 and 9 a.m. because that's when he needs the quiet. That's when it comes to him. So that's kind of proof positive. Maybe one day I'll have written 40 books, but at least write the book inside you by choosing early morning. Some people we know will choose late at night. and whenever, you know, or
it's
maybe,
whatever works.
yeah.
But it's like anything. If you want to be fitter, run a marathon, you do your training, you schedule that in. If you want to write a book, you schedule that in.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, spoken like an organized person, Mary-Jane, at least. But in the meanwhile, there's a wait list. So it's writethebookinside.com/wait list. And then if you put your name down there, then at least you may be one of the 5 or 6 first comers. I had to turn people away. And so they're already on the wait list. I think there were 3 people who've got priority. So that leaves 2 or 3 more people. So we're not looking for thousands. We just want people we can work
5 or
with.
6.
One-to-one. And there will be an opportunity to also work, ask me to dive deeper into your book. But how did you find the benefit of being in a group?
Yes, huge, because it's a bit like being a therapist. It's a lonely thing. Isn't it, writing?
Good
so
point.
Having that weekly interaction and the input from everyone else, sharing ideas, saying I'm a bit stuck on this, what does everyone think? It was invaluable. I couldn't put an amount on that.
And what's the final big thing is A for accountability. I think we'll talk about that next week.
Shall we do that? Shall we meet on Wednesday next week? I think that
Wednesday next week, and we'll do another Facebook Live on accountability.
Great.
But in the meanwhile, there are the 5 book hook tips available at writethebookinsideyou.com/free gift. And if those book hook tips, the way I present them, appeal to you, then you know that I'll be helping you write the hooky book inside you.
And you'll put a link to that in there.
I will, which will help you as a coach or therapist attract droves of clients and give you the authenticity and visibility to stand out in the sea of sameness.